All righty, folks. We're going to go ahead and get rolling, y'all. As y'all are eating the salads, hopefully they're delicious. I'm all about protein, so I'm going to wait for the main course to eat, personally. But we're going to get it rolling. We got a little bit of a conversation to have this evening. You're going to learn a lot about Patriot Growth Capital. You're going to learn a little bit about Advancing Line for Veterans, ATLVets. But you're going to hear about an amazing impact we're pushing forward to really shift the dynamic of several things here in Atlanta. We did host a lunch earlier today. A few of y'all were there. We had some amazing things happen. One of the big things is the mayor of Roswell was there. He had a little bit of a formal announcement. There's a big pitch from Roswell happening to place what we're about to talk about in Roswell. They have an awesome strategic vision attached to creating a defense technology hub in Roswell. Essentially, does anybody live in Alpharetta? So they're wanting to compete with Alpharetta for technology. So there's an amazing conversation there with Mayor Wilson and a lot of great pieces that have come from just the lunch. And you're all going to hear more about it during this conversation. The big piece of this evening and the goal for this evening is two things. We have some amazing potential investors in the room. Drink more, we want your money. And then we also have some amazing strategic partners in the room. We have some amazing folks from UNG, University of North Georgia, if y'all aren't familiar. Mike, good to see you, sir. My wife is an alumni from North Georgia, Hall of Famer, national champion. We have a great partnership happening with UNG and ATLVets and a big tie-in with what we're doing, the academic research. Last I heard, 3 years running, sir, that y'all have beat Georgia Tech in the cyber competitions. Yeah. Don't want to talk too much smack about Georgia Tech, but UNG is representing. So glad to have y'all in the room this evening. But I want to start off to introduce you to our CEO. I call him Pretty Zach. I've introduced all of y'all to him tonight as Pretty Zach. It's arguable, but we're going to go with it. If y'all would, welcome up Zach Miller, the CEO of PGC.
Thank you, big dog. Appreciate that. Hoorah!
All right.
Ooh.
That's what I'm getting. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, I'm the product of two Marine parents. Right, so I grew up in a pretty strict household. Woo! Quite a bit of discipline. Left a few scars, but built a very resilient human being out of me. You know, I was taught and told daily that there were kind of three routes for my life. Right, number one, go to college, preferably on a sports scholarship, get a degree, make something of yourself. Number two, listen to the military, 3 meals a day, see the world, make something of yourself. And number three, work in McDonald's drive-thru. I think what my parents were trying to tell me, not so eloquently, was you got two ways to live. You're gonna be a winner or a loser. So, you know, as a smart young man, I chased sports. Got a degree in advertising, and ended up here in Atlanta working in the startup space. I worked with Ventru, Blink Media, Pardot, Insightful. I mean, the name goes on and on. But the beautiful thing about this is I got to witness quite a bit from being a mid-market sales rep, cold calling for the enterprise guys, working my way all the way to the enterprise level, and then ultimately building enterprise level teams. I was part of an aggregate of $1 billion of acquisitions through a 10-year period. The last 5 years of my career before jumping full steam into Patriot Growth Capital was working for Learfield. If nobody knows what Learfield is, it's the largest college multimedia rights holder for all the college athletic programs in North America. We represented 171 schools. I came into that organization, again, through my network, and then infused me in to build a first-party data product. We called it Fan 365. Learfield had acquired about 12 businesses over 30 years and was sitting on a mound of first-party data. They didn't know how to utilize it. So we built Fan 365 and gave brands the ability to target the fans of specific schools anywhere they existed within a zip code or a DMA within North America. Very targeted, right place, right time, right device. Through that, building the product, staffing up the team, serving Southeast, North, and West in our national sales team, I was responsible for $176 million worth of sales within the first year of the product. We went on to achieve $400 million in total sales. Learfield's a $2 billion privately held company. What happened next was they pushed me into a national sales role. I had 400 sales reps at the local level underneath me that fed up to GMs and the 3 VPs that I dealt with on a daily basis. I got to do some of the biggest deals in my life and really structure agreements that were a lot more sophisticated than I dealt with in the SaaS world. But through those experiences, what happened was I had 2 boys. Now I have a 4 and 6-year-old. We went through COVID. And then I found myself kind of in a situation with golden handcuffs. I was making a ton of money. I was gone nonstop. COVID gave me a little lens into being home with boys and what that looked like. And I just found myself in airports every Sunday wondering, what am I doing? You know, my wife had to come home. We had some issues with our younger son's birth, and that made her a full-time stay-at-home mom. And again, I'm gone. And I, had to kind of, my faith means a lot to me. So I had to really kind of ask the Lord, where do you want me? What have I learned through all these experiences? What's the wisdom I can gain and share? And what can I do with what I've learned? So at a men's retreat, I'm part of a mastermind group called Legendary. Tommy Breedlove runs it. He was at the lunch with us. I kind of voiced at this Kentucky retreat that, I wanted to buy a profitable business. I had a bunch of ideas, played the startup game, didn't necessarily want to do that, raise money, dilute myself, answer to a board. But I wanted to buy a profitable business, something that I understood confidently, that I could grow, find some arbitrage opportunities within their media and marketing mix, and live my life with my kids. What happened next would change my life forever. John Bates was at the retreat, kind of nudged me and said, hey man, what if we joined forces, bought businesses, and put veterans in to be the owner-operators of that business? That started to pull at my heartstrings a little bit. I thought about it. A month went by, 2 months went by. December of 23, I gave him a call. And typically for me, I'm pretty regimented, right? Son of 2 Marines, I'm planning out my year. I know what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to trade, my goals, all that sort of stuff. That is, December 15th to the end of the year, that's what I do. And I gave him a call and said, I'm going to shut all my side hustles down. Let's go after this vision. I love what we're doing here, but we gotta create a team. So we embarked on that in January 24. Added the core 4. You're going to meet Jeff Barnes. You know Zach Knott already. Jonathan Bates will speak in a minute. And we were off running. I left corporate in October of 24, and we've been doing this full time. What has happened since then is we put systems, processes, partnerships, really just built the bullpen, if you will. And we set off to go buy e-commerce businesses. We're actively purchasing businesses right now. We're 2 weeks away from closing on the next one. And now we have our vet that's made it through our first assessment process that you're going to meet as well, Ben. And you're going to understand how we assess, why we run them through the process, and what this means to his life. So we're giving veterans opportunities here. The goal, the purpose of Patriot Growth Capital is to change veteran family trees with business. Our mission within the next 10 years is to impact 1 million veteran families. Wow. Right? We're going to do that through multiple ways. You're going to learn more about it. One of the big things that I'm excited about is the beautiful thing that Zach Knott has built with Advancing Line for Veterans. Our focus is 5% of the entire portfolio, the net proceeds will go to Advancing Line veterans annually. All right? John's about to walk us through mission, core value, 5 I's. Hello. Jeff's going to walk us through the investment criteria. We're going to hear a little bit from Ben as well. It's going to be a really fun and interactive event. Before I bring John up, I want to introduce him a little bit. He spent 26 years in the Navy Special Forces. Last 5 years, he trains 3,500 kids from boot camp, the bomb squad. He's a husband, a father, my friend, and a huge mentor. He's made a massive impact on me. So I'm really glad to kind of bring him up here, guys. But let's welcome John Bates. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time out of your evening. I know it's valuable. Appreciate every second. And thank you, Zach. I know I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, bro. I'm so glad that you had 2 Marine parents. They hammered out an amazing mission. You're the best, bro. All right. So I want to share with you just a little bit of experience from a military person as they get out of the Navy and they decide what to do next. Navy for me, the rest of the military, I guess. But imagine waking up in the morning, going in to talk to everybody you work with, and go through these 5 levels of crazy about what you decide to do next and how they react. So the first level You come in and you're like, hey, I just got a government job. And everyone's like, high five. Good for you, man. Staying in the bloom. You're going to be here tomorrow just in a different set of clothes. That's great. Congratulations. Next level of crazy. Hey, I got a regular job, man. I'm out. And they're like, well, that's not a government job. Not quite as safe, not quite as secure, but we're American. Good luck. That's awesome. Third level of crazy. I'm going to start a government contracting business. I'm like, whoa, man. That's not a job. That's not safe. But there's set-asides. Good luck. That guy's crazy. Fourth level of crazy is when you come in and you're like, oh, I slept so good last night and I have the best idea. I'm going to start my own business. Whoa, man. That's not a job. There's no set-asides. That's crazy. Stay away from that guy. Good luck. And the fifth level of crazy is when you come in and you say, hey, sir, I'm going to buy somebody's already profitable business. What? Who are you? Elon Musk? You don't have any experience in that. You're going to destroy your family. What are you thinking? That's crazy. That guy's insane. Stay away from him. That fifth level of crazy is what we embrace here. Because that is what changes family legacies. But how can we do that? Because it does sound crazy to the average person. Well, we do that starting with our culture. And our culture is we think about you so you can think about others. The best version of you for you is the best version of you for us. And how that translates and experienced in the military. This is actually the secret to how, in that 26 years of special operations, I was able to bring every single person I deployed with back with all their limbs and all their digits.
Woo!
And it's because at commands, and when you're deployed, I can't have somebody trying to disarm a bomb, worried about their family back home getting hit by a hurricane. They need to know that we have taken care of their family. Their house is boarded up and their family is safe. So they can focus on what's happening right now. And how that translates into business is that because you know that we want you to own this business from day one, that we're backing you up and doing everything we can for you, that you can concentrate on employees and customers. More importantly, you can go home and be present and engaged with people that you care about. You can be the best husband, best father, best wife, best sister, best neighbor. Because you have that freedom, that worry about where things are coming from is not there for you. And to support that, we have 3 core values. The first core value is deep relationships with long-term people. We want to know everything about you. What your kid's favorite color is, where your family likes to go to restaurants, what your hopes and dreams are, not just professionally. That's the easy part. The personal things we want to know. What legacy do you want to leave? The second core value is doing well by doing good. And that doesn't mean that I need you to be Mother Teresa, because I'm not. There's a couple Navy you guys here, you know, we're not Mother Teresa. Now, what does that mean? That means that we're here to create value, because we know that we are directed to be good stewards of what we've been blessed with. We are here to fill your cup. I can't pour into your cup if my cup's empty. And so our job is to make sure that your cup overflows consistently, so that when you see a need out there, you can meet it without reservation. That's how true impact is made. Our third core value is A players only. What's the worst thing that I can do to a team? It's allow somebody to be a B player. Who here has experienced working with somebody who's not fully committed? Yeah, everybody can point to that guy. Dirtbag.
Hey, don't point this way.
That guy, over there, the other guy.
Not over here.
And in your mind, you know what an A player is. All of those definitions are true. But if I was to condense an A player into the diamond that they are, An A player is somebody who does what they say they will do. Now, those are our 3 core values, and I have to share my personal one that frees me up to concentrate on those 3. My personal core value came about a couple years ago. I was in a traumatic brain injury clinic for a month up in DC. And then there, I met a guy that I hadn't seen in 20 years. And you know that guy. You're like, what's up? You guys have grown up, but not apart. We got our families together, and my kids like his kids, and my wife like his wife, and my wife doesn't even like me. Like 95, maybe 96% of the time.
Come on.
I know, I'm the only one who has that relationship. Well, we committed to do life together because of all that love and goodness that we saw we'd missed out on. And I was so excited. He called a couple months later, he's like, hey, let's do something. And I was like, heck yeah. But life got busy. And somebody texted me his obituary. And it hurt. It hurts every time I say that. It hurts because I had to do some introspection, and I figured out it hurt because I measure my level of regret as inversely proportional to how hard I tried to close the gap between reality and what things could have been. And I'd spent 20 years doing things that I didn't really want to do with people I didn't really want to do with. So my last core value is I only do things with people I like. And that frees me up to focus on the first 3. So,
Ladies.
now you know our culture, our core value. That's how we can manage to win in that 5th level of race. Everybody here is successful. You guys have I'm looking out at your faces. I'm so blessed to be around you. You're confident. You know exactly who you are, what your purpose is. You know what you're going to do the next day and why. And that's what it's like in the military. Every single day, get up, you know what you're going to wear, where you're going, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, how you're going to get home, where your health care is going to come from. All of those things are solid. You have a purpose. It's very clear. Your identity is very clear. Just like my brothers here that are in ATOD, I was the bomb squad guy. Chemical, nuclear, biological, hostage bombs, IEDs, underwater mines. That's me. That's me. The next day, when you retire, that's not me. Who am I? I'm not that guy. We wrap all of our identities into what we do. I don't know. I don't have to wear anything in particular. My vision is blurry. The future, my identity is lost. My purpose, uncertain. And it's scary. I don't know if anybody's ever transitioned from professional athletes down to changing jobs, companies. Who are you? That's what Patriot Growth Capital is here. We're here to give you community, confidence, purpose, and identity back.
Amen.
The hardest part of that, after 26 years, is going home, being with the people that you care about. And I stepped in my 16-year-old daughter's room. He's like, I'm getting home. And eventually she looked up and was like, hey, Dad, why are you in my week? My family has learned to live without me and move on. 14 years straight, never home for more than 2 weeks in a row.
Oh. Wow.
That's something that they didn't ask for. And I thought I was sacrificing just for that. And they don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. So through that, we've set up Patriot Growth Capital. I'd like to walk you through some thoughts as people are considering their next move. Rarely does anybody inside the military think that buying an already successful business is even an option. My dad had 3 jobs. We moved every couple of months. I joined the military. Not only it didn't seem impossible to me, it wasn't reality. We overcame this problem here at Patriot Growth Capital through the man that you know and love, Zach Knight, in advancing the line for veterans. We helped 9,000 families last year. And what he does is he brings successful business owners, successful veteran business owners, and veteran families together so that they can experience new reality. They can be exposed and see what is possible out there. Because I didn't even know this was possible. The second thing that people have to consider when they think about buying a business, once they even grasp it as a reality for their family, is, man, I was in the military. I'm American. Where am I supposed to get the money for a business? What does a good business even look like? Well, we solve that problem as well. Through our search techniques and team, we buy already successful businesses doing at least $1.5 million in profit. That means they have systems, processes, and market share. It's already winning. We take care of that. And the third thing that people consider and stops them is everybody hates to look like a fool and a failure. And so the question is, now that I have a business, what do I do? Because it's cute to be a military person or a family member. That's not the same as running a business. We take care of that through the Practical MBA. The first 2 years of our program, they are in the business, working systems and processes, learning the language of the business that they will own someday. The second 2 years are all about strategic thinking and raising them up so they can work on the business. The last year, we tie it all together in the bow to make sure that that family is confident in what they are going to own someday. They can step into that identity as business owners. Now, you can go get an MBA. Everybody here has one. It's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at the end, you still have to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. But with us, they get paid the whole way, and their pay increases when they purchase. But more importantly, they get at 40 hours a week for 60 months, they have more than 10,000 hours of experience in the business they will own. So once again, they can have that purpose and identity and step confidently into the next stage of their life. Now, who here is a veteran? Thank you, my brothers and sisters, for your service. Who here has a veteran in their family tree? Look around, almost everybody. That's great. Now, trust me on this one for a second. Close your eyes for just a second and imagine those family members, the people that you care about that have been related to a veteran. Every single person that you're picturing in your mind right now is eligible for the Practical MBA. We want to help them have the confidence, the purpose, the clarity of vision, who they are. That's what we're doing here. And I am so excited. And with that, I want to bring up Zach Knight to talk you guys through what's coming next and how we're going to be able to do this faster. Zach Knight, everybody.
So a lot of y'all know me already. I thought it was important to introduce y'all to the team. Patriot Growth Capital, it's an amazing piece that John brought forward. His vision, he lives in Florida. Jeff, who you're gonna hear from in a second, he's our Chief Investment Officer. He flew in from Seattle. We try not to hold that against him. But a lot of times y'all hear from me, you hear from ATLVets, you see the events, I spam your email, send 6 emails about show up tonight, we're gonna have a great time. And I want to tell you all a little bit more about myself, because a lot of times at these events, it's all about putting a platform together for veterans to be on. And a lot of times I don't tell my own story. So many years ago, I was born and raised right here in Atlanta. Who here's a Grady baby? Any other Grady babies in the room? Okay, one other Grady baby. It's my one claim to fame, y'all. Born and bred right here in Atlanta. In the early days, I was a police officer in Metro Atlanta. Dedicated to what is Atlanta, how do we build it, how do we give back to the community. I left the law enforcement world to join the Army. I was 28 years old when I did so. For those of y'all that don't know, at 28, going to compete with a bunch of 18-year-olds, not the easiest thing in the world to do. My journey through the military was different in a lot of ways because of my age, because of my experience. I went through officer, joined the dark side, went through infantry, ended up deploying with the Green Berets in 2019. And that time frame, I don't talk about too often. I wrote a book about it, so I'm pretty much a Navy SEAL, if anybody knows that joke. I wrote a book about it that did pretty well, but I don't talk about it enough. And that time frame was pretty difficult for me. About a year after the deployment, we lost 6 guys out of 50, excuse me. We lost a lot of guys. It was very kinetic in 2019. I came back, I had all the guilt, survivor's guilt, all the pieces attached to why am I the one that survived this. A year later, I was out in Fort Benning, good old Fort Benning, doing push-ups, the same Army PT thing, and dislocated my thumb doing a push-up. I'm like, this is really weird. Why'd that happen? As a man, no offense to the ladies in the room, there's some tough ladies in this room, I know. But we just like, no big deal, popped it back into place, all good. Except all the feeling from my elbow down left. Everything was numb. And what I found out is I had severe nerve damage in my left arm. And go to the doctors, and all of a sudden, Fort Benning, love them for what they are, but medical is not their specialty. They told me I needed to have surgery on my arm. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, they said. 2 weeks prior, knowing that my 15 years of uniform service was over, I had that feeling. Y'all ever get that feeling like this just can't, it's not gonna be good, right? 2 weeks before, I found myself at the end of a dock, emptied a bottle of bourbon, had a pistol in my mouth. I was about to become one of those 22 a day. And it was one of those, I knew my career was coming to an end. I just didn't want to deal with it. I was going through a bad divorce, something that's in this world potentially unique, but in the veteran world, that's not a unique journey. Through divine intervention, I did not pull that trigger, thankfully. Obviously, I'm here today. Amen. And several things came through from that. 2 weeks later, I had surgery on my arm. 4-hour procedure with one surgeon turned into an 8-hour procedure with 2 surgeons. My greatest fear came true. And coming out of that surgery, they said, you'll be lucky if you ever get feeling back in your hand. Now I can use it, right? It happens. I can't golf anymore. Last time I went to the driving range, I broke the head off my driver. So we send Zach Miller out to go golfing now. But it's one of those, the worst case scenario happened to me and I was medically retired for it. To this day, I still don't have feeling in my hand. I can use it, but I can't feel anything. And we talk about veterans, we talk about unseen injuries and unseen damage and things that we don't understand, right? PTS is one of those aspects. There are a lot of injuries. I was medically retired. You're gonna hear from Ben Busick in a second. He was medically retired. John was medically retired. What ends up happening in those moments is you don't plan for that. All of a sudden, you have 15 years, brothers, sisters, family that you spend hours and hours with, you deploy with, you live with. And all of a sudden, all that gets yanked out from under you. That uniform gets stripped from you immediately. And I wasn't ready for that. So I spent a year in essentially isolation. Everybody kept telling me, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. And I couldn't tie my own shoes. It's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. And I couldn't put the ribbons on my uniform, the Bronze Star, the combat ribbons. I couldn't put any of that on my uniform because I didn't have the capability with my hand. Yet it's gonna be fine. And every time somebody told me it's gonna be fine, I immediately labeled them as a liar. My family, my friends, my community. And what veterans do is we isolate ourselves. We go from, oh yeah, I wanna be a part of, until we feel like we're being lied to. And I felt like everybody's lying to me. It's not gonna be fine. I can't tie my shoes. And I relearn all these things. You fast forward a year, 2 years, I go through all the physical therapy, the recovery, still don't have the feeling, learning to live with it. And I really pulled away from the veteran community, pulled away from friends, family, and I had an aha moment that this just isn't gonna work for me. I can't be isolated anymore. I went through the transition programs, I went through all the things developed for veterans to get into the civilian world. And what they told me is fill out this resume. We'll get you a job. You can load trucks at UPS. Sure I can, right? I don't have any feelings, so it's not gonna hurt. So they kept telling me there's these baseline roles we can get you. Well, with the police department, I did SWAT, narcotics, did all the fun stuff. In the Army, deployed the Green Berets, top tier, right? I did all the high level things. I started businesses as side hustles. Those went very successfully. And all these people kept telling me I had to start completely over at 34 years old, and it's gonna be fine. I didn't want to take that as the solution to what I felt was my problem. So I started, as the entrepreneurial plight goes, I started Advancing the Line for Veterans, where we serve veterans 15, 20 years in uniform or more, and we have equitable transitions designed for them, from workforce development to entrepreneurship. Where all of this started formulating is when John Bates came to me one day. He's like, hey man, what do you think about starting a private equity firm? I'm like, yeah, I don't like numbers. Tax time comes around, you'll see me hiding in the bunker over there. I'm not the numbers guy. I'm not the private equity investor guy. He's like, I don't need you for that. What I need you for is the capabilities that ATLVets brings forward. We need the veterans. We need somebody that can rally the troops around, and you're that guy. So he elected me to be the Chief Impact Officer. You're the guy that's gonna create the most impact for veterans and veteran family members. That's your job, which means I build ATLVets. The more veterans we can serve, the more veteran family members we can bring in, the better that we can do with Patriot Growth Capital and vice versa. In our first full calendar year, we served over 9,000 veteran family members. We turned 2 years old last month. We've expanded into 10 states and 12 cities. We're growing rapidly based off of this concept that there are veterans out there that are not being served appropriately. So as we've grown and built, we turned into Patriot Growth Capital. I told him no for months. Like, nah, man, you're crazy. You're that crazy other bald guy. It's not gonna happen, right? I finally said yes to him because he is tenacious, maybe. You keep harassing people forever. And what he did is he sold me on this vision of Patriot Growth Capital. What can it be? And he's like, my vision is gonna be so big you can see your vision for ATLVets inside of it. I'm like, well, my vision for ATLVets is this Veteran Center of Excellence. How many people have been to Fort Benning, Building 4, the Maneuver Center of Excellence? It's MCO, right? The MCO is designed for military, everything training in the Army goes through the MCO. It's a workshops, classrooms, library, every aspect of learning and education goes through the Maneuver Center of Excellence, right? Like, well, my vision for ATLVets is a Veteran Center of Excellence. I want the VetCo here in Atlanta. I want a facility where we have classrooms, learning, education, mentorship, plus a human performance lab, for lack of a better term. Many of y'all met my better three quarters, Taylor, my retirement plan, as I like to call her. She does corporate health and wellness. I mentioned D2 Hall of Famer, national champion. We want to blend this concept of bringing veterans in, put them into this health and wellness facility, mental and physical health and wellness, human performance. They go get a workout in, they come up to the workshops, they come up to the office space. I told John, that's the vision. He's like, cool, we're gonna make it happen. And you know what I said to him? Ladies, cover your ears. I'm like, bullshit, there ain't no way, right? Excuse my language. It's the one time I'm cussing today, I swear. And what's come to fruition past that, as I've put that message out in the world, Brandon Quinn, back in the back, he's a fancy Navy EOD guy. There are too many Navy people in the room, if you ask me. But Brandon and his partner Travis came to me with an event, the Atlanta Defense Tech Networking. He's run it for a year or so, doing quarterly events. They asked ATLVets to take it over. They wanted to grow it, build it. And we started having these conversations about defense technology. And why is Atlanta not the pinnacle of defense technology in the Southeast? We have the talent, we have the resources, we have the people, yet all those people start leaving because the opportunities are outside of Atlanta. Nobody's leading the charge of defense technology being based here in Atlanta. So I threw out there, being the audacious guy I am, what if we take this Veteran Center of Excellence concept, overlay a defense technology accelerator on top of it, and we build this facility, this ecosystem that brings defense technology into Georgia, I bring veterans into this facility, and we build this ecosystem of economic development, veteran success, and aspects that we need in the community, the opportunities we need in the community. As that conversation has continued and has grown and has built, what we've essentially laid out, I'm sure all of y'all are familiar, most of y'all are familiar with Atlanta Tech Village, ATDC. They're great opportunities. Nobody's focused on defense technology. So we start having this conversation, I'm like, this is how I see it. We have the human performance facility. Think about the floors, ATV model, right? We have the floors of this defense technology accelerator, the human performance center. Then we have a conference space, co-working space. We have the capability to have an R&D lab, the capability to come in, have these defense technology companies build things, grow things here in Georgia. Then we have the capability to have SCIFs. I can't remember what it stood for. I got it wrong earlier. Security compartment, sensitive, that's the S. Sensitive compartment infrastructure facility. I was an Army guy. We just talked about stuff, y'all. That's a Navy term. But we have a floor of SCIFs and the capability to have these high-level conversations all here in Atlanta, the open access to those SCIFs. And as I've talked more and more about it, we have some amazing people in this room that see the vision and want to make it happen. I mentioned earlier the mayor of Roswell. They're courting us very heavily. They want to see it happen in Roswell. I mentioned UNG. I see an amazing possibility with UNG in the cadet program, taking down West Point. To give a little bit of props to President Shannon over here. I think his vision is to like take out the Achilles heel of West Point-ish. He won't say it out loud, I'll say it for him. But there's an amazing possibility with this facility and what we can bring into the economics of Atlanta and the veteran community. Where we're different than ATV or ATDC is we have the access to SCIFs. We have the human performance facility where we're getting minds and bodies right. Then we have the veteran talent pool with ATLVets, ready to go to work, ready to help these defense technology companies advance. I think there's an immense possibility here. That's the whole concept of why we're here this evening. The golden nugget attached to all of this is we already have 6 companies committed to be in our accelerator. They're just ready for us to put literally the boots on the ground, have the facility, go through it. They're ready for this, which means we need strategic partners and we need investors. We are asking y'all to help us make this happen. The next person you're gonna hear from, to just show context attached to what ATLVets and PGC is doing, is Ben Busick. I'm gonna drag him up here. He's currently in our program. If y'all would give him a round of applause. So naturally, when 2 of my partners are Navy and the other's the son of 2 Marines, I had to find an Army guy, right? And I want to talk a little bit with Ben about what his experience has been like, because Ben is one of those that has walked the same journey that I have. A veteran with not a necessarily unique story, but so many people don't know this story. Ben's 25 years Army, medically retired, 23 years special operations, wife, kids, dogs, so many aspects. And I want him to tell y'all what it's been like to be engaged with PGC, what it's been like to be in this senior leader track that we're putting him through that gives an opportunity of possibilities, just so you understand the impact we're making with veterans and veteran family members. Tell them a little bit about yourself, your background in the military.
Well, thank you, Zach, and good evening to everyone. Just really appreciate everybody being in the room today. It's good to see some familiar faces and to meet some new ones. So, as Zach said, my name is Ben Busick. I'm Sergeant Major retired. That means that my pay grade was an E9. For those not familiar with the military, E9 is the highest I could have gotten. There's no E10. So I was at the top of my game, and most of that was pretty much my whole career was in special operations. And so it's been an amazing journey. Did a lot of fun things. And where do you want to go from there?
So we talk about his journey, and what I find really interesting, across his 25 years in the military, accumulatively 5 years deployed, which means every 6 to 9 months he's gone. He's home for a couple months, but that doesn't mean he's like home, right? That means he's actively training, actively doing things, performing at the top level. Tell folks about the last role you had in the military.
Yeah, so like Zach said, 5 years cumulatively in combat. That's 20% of my whole career. In between that, for that whole time frame, I was gone 8 to 10 months out of every year. So not a lot of time home between training and deployments and school. And so one of the roles, before I was medically retired, I had a path. There was jobs where I was going to take, and this could be really cool. So that to set me up for success, I was running operations, which is basically making sure that people have the equipment, everything they need to be successful, places to stay, food to eat, ammunition to shoot. In a task force, it was 3,000 people large, and we were spread across 8 countries. And in that task force, it was pretty unique because of that 3,000 persons, there's only 160 of them that were actually organic to my organization, people that went through the same type of selection process that I went through. And that was interesting because now you have not just the people that that do the same things you have to help that leadership, that character, that culture to go to this other 2,000 plus people. So you're talking about a bunch of augmentees. They were not hired the same way you were. They're there to help, but they don't really understand your organization. So that was a challenge and a really, really awesome opportunity.
So when you think about the context in the corporate world, the civilian world, when you're managing 3,000 people from different departments, if you will, there's a whole spectrum of personalities, capabilities, different aspects. A lot of times in the civilian world, we don't think about that aspect. We just see the Army guys as trigger pullers. When I was getting out, that's what I was told. Oh, you're a trigger puller. That's all you're good for. Well, that doesn't translate necessarily nicely to the civilian world, right? So when you're thinking through these things, put that context of he was managing 3,000 people. He was doing logistics across a very large company, if you will. And then COVID hits. And what's unique about his story is you think about the operational tempo of somebody in the special operations world, you're not home very much. And when we think about COVID, we think about businesses shut down, states shut down, everything shut down. Well, that means it impacted the military in a very different way. Part of his story that I think is fascinating is what happened in COVID. Can you share that with everybody?
Yeah, so for folks that COVID was a terrible experience, my heart goes out to you. I know it was difficult for a lot of us. For my family, it was actually a huge change. So when you're in the mix, when you're nose down and doing what the country and then the people of the country need you to do, I didn't really think about it. I used to say and promote family first, absolutely family first. But Jonathan and I were joking about this, how that really wasn't true. That we need someone to go on that trip. I'll go. Somebody stubbed their toe, they can't go on the deployment. I'll do it. So really, truly wasn't family first. I live in the state of Virginia, and in Virginia during COVID, we were shut down for 90 days, 3 months, nothing. Well, my wife used to joke around with her friends, colleagues, people at work when they said, like, oh goodness, my husband's be gone for 2 days. I don't know what I'm gonna do, the kids, all these things. And she'd just say kindly, like, that sounds hard, because I was gone so much. She was a single mom mostly. Well, when the COVID lockdowns happened, that was honestly the most time I'd ever spent home. 90 consecutive days. I'd never spent 90 consecutive days home. As a husband, as a father, in my own bed, I never had that opportunity. And for us, we do have friends, we do have colleagues that didn't work out as well for them. But for us, something changed. Something sparked in us, like, wow, we were already at 20 years of service at that point. And I started to understand there's more to life than just constant rotations and constant training. Even though it's amazing, I wanted a little bit more of it. So that was our COVID story.
And when you think about that context, 90 days with your family for the first time in years, I can't put that in my head, right? I was only in the military for 7 years. I didn't serve 25. So it's hard for me to even think about it. And then you fast forward, I mentioned he was medically retired. He got this awakening, if you will, about, wow, family is cool. I enjoy being around family. And then you go on this family trip in the SOF community, and tragedy hit. And it shifted the dynamic of capabilities. Can you share a little bit about that part of your journey?
Yeah, thank you. So I apologize a little ahead of the time if I get teary because it still affects me too. But in 2022, my wife and I were able to go on a marriage retreat. So a special operations retreat where just the couples would go. It's an opportunity, all expenses paid. It's a great opportunity. If you have not done that, my military friends, please try to do that. You can even go as a retiree or no longer serving. So we went to Montana, a gorgeous state. The whole trip is planned around you and your spouse just having time together. There's no commitments other than just enjoying time together. And one of the activities that was planned was a very slow ATV ride for all the couples to go up to the top of a mountain, have a nice, beautiful picnic lunch overseeing the mountains of Montana, and then come back down. No big deal, right? Well, my wife and I got on one of the ATVs. We were the last in the convoy. I'm no stranger to ATVs. It wasn't like my first time at all. But on the way up the mountain, I guess God had a different plan for us. Our ATV hit a rut, and again, we're not going very fast. It's just a very casual ride. That ATV launched us off the side of the mountain. We flipped. We landed pretty far down a very steep mountain. And thank God we were with special operations couples because they had to rescue us. There was no cell reception. It was only GPS phones, which thankfully one of the riders had. They had to call help, and that ambulance took about 2 hours to get to us. And on the side of the mountain, we laid there. We couldn't move. We couldn't get out there. And eventually we got airbacked out. That was a different scenario. I'm used to that in combat, that type of stuff, but on the homeland, that was different. So my wife and I each had separate helicopters. We arrived in a hospital in Idaho where we stayed for 3 weeks. So if you do the math, I live in Virginia. We were in Montana, or now at that point, Idaho. We spent a whole month away from our kids and our dogs and our everyday life. And that changed for a lot of reasons, one of which was not only did I have an immense amount of guilt and a whole bunch of other emotions for nearly killing my wife, but also while we were in the hospital, she almost died in front of me again. She had a blood, I just totally forgot the word, but she had something burst in her lung.
I'm not a medical guy. Don't look at me for that answer. Sorry.
Yeah, basically, yes, thank you, sir. Pulmonary embolism. And so she basically bled out in front of me in the hospital. Now, anybody that's been to combat knows about trauma, and none of that stuff really bothered me. But then seeing my wife, so the person I swore to protect and live by, she was on in front of me. And so thankfully she didn't. They were able to bring her back. And after a series of weeks in the hospital, we were able to finally be reunited with our family. But that's a humbling experience, relying on friends, family, swim team parents, brothers and on the teams, like to take care of your family. That's a really humbling experience while you're laying in a bed across the country. So from that, again, that actually solidified the family first thing, and it triggered what you guys already know, a medical board, because then I was not able to physically continue serving in the capacity that I had served for so long. Humbling.
So part of why I wanted him to share his story is the context around it's not always combat that takes us out of the fight, right? We don't always get to choose when the uniform's taken from us. It was a family event and the uniform was ripped away from him. And as he's gone through his journey, he's gone through these transition programs, he found us, he found PGC, he found ATLVets. Part of what we do with Patriot Growth, part of our intake process, everybody asks, how do you vet the veterans that are taking over the companies that we're acquiring? And there's a very selective process. You go through ATLVets, you're with us for 6 to 9 months. Patriot Growth then goes into ATLVets and recruits top-tier veterans out of ATLVets programs to then become operators within the companies we're acquiring. Ben's in that program. He's been selected by Patriot Growth to come into one of our acquisitions. But before we did that, we had to open the purview. When I was growing up, I wanted to be the next John Smoltz. Born and raised 2 miles from the stadium, the now stadium. I wanted to be the closer for the Atlanta Braves. Y'all, I was good, but I wasn't that good. I was no national champion like my wife, right? So that dream didn't happen. The next dream I had was I wanted to be in uniform. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to serve. I wanted to be in the military. Those things did happen. A lot of time what happens with veterans is we have this dream of being in the uniform and then it gets ripped away from us. So we don't have any dreams. We don't have that next step. I was 34 years old, medically retired, told I'm disabled, told I'm broken, and I'm not good to anybody anymore. So when John Bates first came to me about Patriot Growth and the capabilities he sees with it, one of the aspects, he comes to me and he's like, hey man, what do you dream about? And I'm like, those dreams are not to talk about in a lovely setting like this. They were nightmares. They're all the bad things I experienced. He's like, no, I'm not talking about what are your dreams right now. I'm talking about what do you see your life being like 5 to 10 years from now? And he put me through this exercise that we use as the intake piece of Patriot Growth Capital, where we have a veteran or veteran family member go through this process of identify what your dream life looks like 5 and 10 years from now, because Patriot Growth is going to keep you accountable to it. If we place you in one of our companies and you say you want to take your wife every 6 months to Disney World and you don't do it, well, we're going to end your tenure in our program. We're literally keeping you accountable to living the dream life that you want to achieve. And so we put Ben through this program, or we put Ben through this intake process. We made him go through the steps, made him sit down with the family, and then we make him record a video and send it to us, proof that you did all the steps. Can you share the experience of going through that, opening the purview of like what a dream life could look like after the military?
Yeah, absolutely. And first, I just want to talk about the attraction to, if it's okay, the attraction to ATLVets.
I'm very attractive. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by bald men. It's fantastic. But honestly, I spent my entire adult life, like literally from the age of 17 to my mid 40s now, around the top 1% of the entire Department of Defense, like the most elite folks that we have in our country in the military. And that's a hard thing to not be a part of anymore. As soon as you leave it, the wheel keeps spinning. It's kind of like one of those merry-go-rounds on the playground that just keeps spinning, right? You have to let go at some point, and then it just keeps spinning without you. So part of the core values that Jonathan shared was A players only, and that's what I love about this group, both PGC and ATLVets, because they show up when they say they're going to show up, and that's critical, and quite honestly, probably a rare thing in today's age. So as far as the assignment of dreaming, well, in the military, you don't get a lot of dreaming. You get to train and learn what the next mission is, and that's about it. There's not too many times you get done with a combat mission and someone's like, man, what are you dreaming about? That doesn't happen. So,
that is not locker room talk. Hey, buddy, what are you dreaming about, man? What's up?
Exactly. That's so good. So when that became the quote unquote selection process, it was daunting. That was a hard thing to sit and really think about. Like, what do I want to do? What can I do? What should we do as a family? And I'm going to just share one of them with you. It was originally a 5-year plan. It was one of my long-term goals, or medium-term goals, I guess you could say. But just show of hands, who's been to Hawaii? Oh man, I am missing out. Well, thank you for sharing that. I've never been to Hawaii. My family's never been to Hawaii. Matter of fact, if you ask my parents if they thought I would ever go to Hawaii, they'd be like, that sounds really expensive, we can't do that. But that was one of our dreams, was to visit Hawaii. And just to let you know, this is a Hawaiian Airlines credit card. I keep it on my mirror, so every morning and every night, I see this and it helps motivate me to make sure that today I'm working towards that goal. Because in 2026, my family is gonna go to Hawaii. It's a big year for us. My oldest, it'll be his last summer before he goes to college. My middle child, my daughter, she'll be turning 16. And then our youngest, he'll be 11, so no big things for him. But also, Amy and I get to celebrate 20 years of marriage together. And so, thank you.
Amen.
It's going to be a big year for us. And so our goal, or my goal for one of our dreams that we put on the list that these guys are also holding me accountable to is I wanted to fly our whole family, business class, all the way to Hawaii. That's something that we never would have thought of possible. So I have that credit card to get the miles to start working on that. And if you guys have any contacts in Hawaiian Airlines that can get us business class, it'll make it easier, but just see me after this. So yeah, that's one of our dreams. And I just want to encourage everybody in the room, it sounds daunting. It sounds a little bit maybe childish. We can talk about SEER school and childlike logic if you'd like to. It's a real thing. But at the end of the day, I want to challenge everybody to maybe take a little bit of time for themselves this afternoon, this evening, and have a dream. Maybe have a conversation with one of your loved ones about what do you dream about. That way we can keep each other accountable and work towards similar goals and really change the trajectory of life. And I think that's why this program is so incredible, and I'm really blessed to be a part of it.
Y'all, it takes, oh, there we go. Nope.
Trade.
Mic switch. The Navy set me up. They changed out the batteries when I wasn't looking, sorry. Y'all, it takes a lot of courage to share a personal journey like that. If y'all would, give Ben another round of applause.
That's good.
So you've heard the purpose, you've heard the passion. Ben is set up to go through our practical MBA that you heard John talk about, teach him everything from the ground up. In the military, we were told, here's your rock pit. There's a rock in the grass over here. You pick up that rock, you put it back in the rock pit, right? What we teach in the practical MBA is how do you mop the floors properly? All the way to the top of how do you run this company across 5 years, 10,000 hours of training. The practical MBA is part of our selection process. Ben, I have confidence is going to pass that. I hope. We're going to send him to Hawaii. We're going to make sure that happens. But that's our process. So you've heard the purpose, you've heard the passion, you've heard the vision. Now I want y'all to hear the numbers. How is this actually going to happen? And how can we make it happen here in Atlanta? So my team, the beautiful ladies, Casey and Taylor, that welcomed y'all, and the rest of the team, we're going to hand out some booklets. Then you're going to hear from Jeff. Jeff is the numbers guy. Numbers are not my piece. He's the chief investment officer. He's a Navy guy, but he was one of those like nuclear, submariner, crazy people. But as he talks, he's going to tell you, don't start flipping through the booklet yet, but he's going to tell you what pieces he's going to talk through. If y'all would, welcome our chief investment officer, Jeff Barnes.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Can we get this table out here? Just one of these. All right, guys. So thanks so much. You guys all doing all right out there? Everybody good? I know we've been going for a while. I'm going to be speeding through this. So I know I'm talking the boring stuff. I appreciate you guys' time and attention. Hopefully everybody have a good food, good meal, good drinks. All right. And can we give it up to the wait staff and everybody around here that's been helping us out? I really appreciate that. You know, I know they're not in here all the time, but they're doing a great job taking care of us. So I have a lot of stuff to go through. I'm going to go through rather quickly. And I encourage anybody who is curious about any of this stuff to stick around afterwards. Happy to answer any questions I can. Very briefly, my career, I did not do 20 plus years in the military. I did 6. I joined the military. I joined the U.S. Navy straight out of high school in 2000. And the reason I joined is because a guy came up to our high school when I was a junior in high school and said, hey, you look like you need food. You're really skinny. I said, yeah, that sounds great. What do you got? Pizza. All right. What are we going to learn about? Well, we're going to learn about the Navy. Oh, geez, that sounds terrible. But I got free pizza and I was okay. He said, hey, you're a pretty smart guy, and I think you should join the Navy. I said, why is that? Well, they give you a cool uniform, and pretty chicks love cool uniforms. I was like, done, let's do it. So I joined the military straight out of high school, ended up in the nuclear power program, ended up on a submarine. By the end of my career, I was a quality assurance officer on the USS Jefferson City. I was a Navy diver. I was in charge of the machinery division. So yes, I am an enlisted knuckle dragon mechanic. So what I like to tell people when I'm in front of a room about business ownership, if I could do it, when all I knew how to do was hammer nails and turn wrenches at the time, they can too, all right? So when I was in the Navy, when I was in boot camp, I was like, I'm gonna go and become an admiral. This looks great. Admirals get paid like $12,000 a month. That was an ungodly amount of money to me at that time, all right? I couldn't even imagine making $12,000 a year, considering my first paycheck was about $300 while I was in the Navy. And when I was in, I realized, it's great that I'm part of something bigger than myself and fighting for the freedom of our country and what we were going through, but I have no freedom. It was always the needs of the Navy. I did not like this. I did not like having control, no control over my time, my life, what I wanted to do. And so I decided to get out of the Navy. I got out, I got into corporate America. I worked for one of the largest financial service companies in the world. And after 12 years of doing this, I had a great job. But when I got out of the Navy, remember, I was in charge of a quality assurance program on a nuclear powered submarine. I have sat on top of a nuclear power plant, a nuclear reactor. I've actually been underneath one as well. I've touched all the piping. I've been involved with some really cool stuff. I've dived on Navy ships. I've checked for bombs. I've done some really cool stuff. I've done security swims and things like that. I've done some pretty cool stuff, and I worked with an elite level or group of guys on the submarine. And when I got out of the Navy, the guys that ended up hiring me said, hey, sounds like you had a good time in the Navy, and you seem like you have an engineering mind. We want you to become a water heater inspector. Like, you guys didn't hear, I used to do nuclear power plant stuff. A water heater inspector? Like, literally, guys, the same thing you guys have in your house, that's what I ended up getting a job doing. But I didn't want to work in nuclear power. I didn't want to go into an office, and I definitely did not want to do shift work, so I ended up in this career. Fast forward 12 years, by the end of that career, because I was a hard charger, I had a great job. Along the way, though, I lost my purpose. And the guys talked about this. One of the biggest challenges with veterans when they get out, especially elite level veterans, is that they lose their passion and their purpose, their sense of self. They don't feel like they're visible anymore. And as a result, some guys and gals go down this really dark path. You get taken away from your brotherhood, your sisterhood, your purpose of what you did while you were in the military. And as a result, you become a cog in a wheel. And as that cog in the wheel, you can lose a sense of self. We don't want that to happen to people. So what we've done is with this, you've heard about the Practical MBA. You've heard about what we're doing here at Patriot Growth Capital, where we are taking these elite level veterans, we're putting them through a program where they can learn how to become business owners. It doesn't happen overnight. How many business owners do we have in the room right now? Okay, good. That's like 2/3 of the room at least. So you guys know it's not a walk in the park. But as a veteran, we don't learn a dang thing about sales or marketing or taxes or money or any of that stuff, right? Everything's taken care of for us. So it's not like we can just throw a veteran into business ownership. So, I had a lot of other stuff I can go through, but really what I want to talk about is how we help these people and how we can get you guys involved. You see, when I went into business ownership, I was still in the Navy. I started my first business. I was going to try and do contracting for garbage pickup routes. That failed miserably because it turns out you have to talk to people and be good at convincing them to buy stuff from you, and I was not good at that. Turns out it took me 18 more tries to finally get it right. I failed literally 18 times, guys, and I think of myself as a pretty smart guy. I could not figure out why people wouldn't buy my stuff, and it sucked. It was terrible. It was, I had panic attacks. I was doing real estate investing. I had a panic attack. So after the Navy, I dived on boats. I have, worked in very high stress environments. Our boat almost went down one time. I've been through 2 near-death experiences at this point in my life. I was having a panic attack before I went to talk to a potential homeowner to sell me their house. And this is a person who wanted to sell their house. Yet I couldn't muster up the courage to go do it. It was really hard. Veterans go through this on a regular basis, and from the outside looking in, you're like, Jonathan, disarming bombs, Green Berets, the Army Rangers, the guys that are going over doing special forces. Like, you don't think of this stuff. You don't think that they struggle with that, but they do. And so going into this world of the civilian workforce, it doesn't really compute to, I'm going to be successful there. My dad was a small business owner, and I watched him struggle, and I did not want that for myself, and we do not want that for veterans. We want these veterans to have a place where they can come, where they can grow, where they can be a part of something and build a great business. Along my way, I actually did start up a successful business, a medical practice, grew it to 7 figures in a few years, and I grew up an e-commerce company that I took from 0 to $17 million in revenue in about 8 months. Pretty proud of that. Problem with all of that was COVID happened. COVID happened. I ended up going through a divorce. So my first exit was I divorced the business. Got to sell it to my ex-wife for $0. I was really excited about that one. And when COVID happened, it shut down our e-commerce business because we were shipping everything worldwide. 400,000 customers, 50,000 of them did not get their product because, we sold stuff and they never got it. That kind of sucked. That really hurt. We have built Patriot Growth Capital as a way to put veterans into business ownership inside of already successful companies. Okay? Who here has heard of this thing called the Silver Tsunami? Okay. I'm sure you guys have heard of it through different names, but that is essentially folks are retiring in mass numbers. $124 trillion of wealth is transferring hands over the next 10 years. $10 trillion, give or take, in small businesses will be transitioning over the next decade. Unfortunately, 20 to 30% of those small businesses will not sell. They'll just shut their doors. The owner will walk out. The employees will have to go find another job. It won't sell. It's going to have an economic impact on a lot of people. We do not want that to happen. So we see a really great opportunity here. We have incredible veterans who have demonstrated leadership capabilities and skills and abilities, and we have these incredible businesses. Why don't we just put these together and show people how to make this happen? So at the end of the day, we have this core competency at Patriot Growth Capital. We are really good at sourcing great deals. We do due diligence on them. We know how to find the great companies. We know how to vet those great companies and go through that whole process. And through ATLVets, we have a way of finding great talent, okay? So with all of that being said, here's what we're doing. You've heard about the Patriot Growth Accelerator. That's going to be a physical building. It's going to be one of most likely many eventually, okay, where we actually have a physical location where we can train these veterans. We can have all the tools, resources, software, security, everything we need for these companies to be successful. Then we are going to go ahead and find these veterans that can go through this program and eventually buy businesses that we can put them into. How do we do this? Well, this is where it gets to the numbers part. We're currently doing a capital raise for Patriot Growth Capital. It's $5 million. It's a convertible note offering. What that is going to do is going to allow us to kickstart this Patriot Growth Accelerator, to get the location that we need for this, to go ahead and staff it up, to get it rolling. It's a 10% per year note, 3-year term. If you don't understand any of these terms, that's totally fine. Just come and talk to me later. We'll go through all this stuff. $250,000 minimum investment. Okay, so that's what we're doing right now with Patriot Growth Capital. If anybody, who here has heard of this guy, Warren Buffett? Anybody? Okay. So a long, long time ago, this guy, Warren Buffett, decided to take this textile company, Berkshire Hathaway, and turn this into a holding company. He started buying up private businesses. Eventually, some of those businesses went public. He also then started buying public investments. A lot of people look at Warren Buffett as a guy who just knows how to pick a good stock. That's so far from the truth of what he's actually capable of doing. What he has done and what his company has done is identify trends in the market and companies that fit those trends and then either acquire them in whole or partner with them in some capacity. Anybody know what the market cap of Berkshire Hathaway is today?
About $1 million.
Just $1 million, right? About $1.02 trillion. Their stock price is over $700,000 per share right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are embarking on a mission very, very similar to what Warren Buffett did a long time ago, with the exception of we are focusing on how do we place veterans into these types of businesses and identifying businesses in 3 really important verticals. Those verticals are defense and dual use technologies, which we talked about, right? There's a lot of people in this room that are in that space. The second one is e-commerce. Now, people are thinking, well, why e-commerce? Why would we even, that's not even close to defense and dual use technology. Very important reason. Our mission is to help 1 million veteran families, okay? This means that we're not just helping the veteran. We're helping the wife, the children, the parents, the siblings. And e-commerce is one of those things that you can run from anywhere, digital types of companies. Anybody here run an e-commerce business or a digital marketing agency or digital companies? Yeah, a few people. So you can run that remotely. Well, guess what happens when you're in the military? You move around a lot. The military spouses would have to move around a lot. They can start a business or be a part of a business while the person is still in the military, okay? That's one of the things that we can do. It also allows us to decentralize some of the operations. We don't have to have everybody in the same place. Part of e-commerce is this thing called logistics. We call it 3PL, third-party logistics. Veterans are amazing at logistics, right? I was on a submarine. Something broke on the boat. We need a new part. No one knows where you are in the middle of the ocean. There's no mailing address. We don't even have a zip code out there, right? But we show up somewhere in the world and the part shows up and we fix the thing and everything's good. You have to understand logistics to make these types of things happen, okay? And then the last place is manufacturing. Okay, manufacturing is another key competency of a lot of veterans. I know it may not seem like that. It's not like you're always manufacturing stuff, but guess what? We learn how to use tools. We learn how to use technology when you're in the military. Manufacturing, and then eventually we'll go into the trades and things like that. There's a rollout plan for all of this. The other thing to understand is this is not a pipe dream. This is not something that we're going to do in the future. This is something we're doing today. This quarter, we will be closing on 2 businesses that we've been working on for quite a while now. Those 2 businesses have roughly top-line revenue about $146 million, okay? $5.7 million in profits that these 2 businesses that we are acquiring will have. Those companies are, again, in defense and dual use technology and e-commerce. This is our launch pad. So part of that $5 million that we're raising right now is going towards the launch of that and the roll up and the scale up of those companies, okay? Now, people asked questions earlier at our luncheon. They said, okay, I don't understand. Are we raising money into this company or one of the acquisitions? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. As a holding company, we're raising the $5 million into our holding company, our parent company, Patriot Growth Capital. Patriot Growth Capital is a veteran-owned and operated private equity investment firm. We're not a fund. And as a result, we end up buying companies as wholly owned subsidiaries underneath us. Okay, when we buy these, we also raise capital to acquire some of these companies. That means that we will raise up to 49% of the equity that we need, and then we'll go to the banks, the lenders, to get the rest of the capital we need to buy the company. Then, like Knight and Bates were talking about, over the course of 5 years, we teach this veteran or multiple veterans, depending on the size of the company, how to run that company, and ultimately they get the chance to buy in or buy out the entire business. Now, why 5 years? Well, one, it takes a long time to learn how to run a business, especially when you've never done a single thing in sales or marketing or finance or anything. The other reason is this cool thing called the Section 1202 exemption, qualified small business stock. In other words, any investor who comes in gets a chance to earn capital gains completely tax-free. You can do that one of two ways. The first one is the qualified small business stock, all right? All capital gains will be tax-free. The second way for our investors to actually earn their returns tax-free is through self-directed IRAs or 401ks. I wrote a book on that a long time ago, help people set those up and invest because, let's face it, aside from maybe the interest on your house, taxes are our number one biggest expense in our entire lives. We want to pay our fair share, but no more. Right? Let's be honest. So with that being said, if you guys want to flip to the very, very back of this, I know that a lot of people have had questions. There's a few sheets in the very back. One of them, this little guy right here, shows us an example of one of our businesses. This is Artisan Core, is a company that we are acquiring right now. Okay, name changed to protect the innocent. But we're going through we're in the final stages of everything. We're literally writing the check and finishing up the acquisition right now. And that gives you guys an example of what this looks like. So let's talk shop. Let's talk numbers. What do these companies look like? We heard earlier, $1.5 million minimum EBITDA, okay? Minimum. We will go up much higher than that. In fact, our plan is to continue to grow in the size of companies that we acquire. $1.5 million in EBITDA allows us to buy a company, get the investors, get the loan, and pay all the subject matter experts and all the people that we need to then go in and run this company and still be profitable, okay? That's one of the things we're focusing in on. That means that on average, when we're buying these companies, like I said, we're really good at sourcing them. We're also really good at negotiating. That guy right there, Big John, he is amazing at negotiating. And what ends up happening is when we have the conversations with these companies that we're acquiring, they love the mission and the vision so much, they don't want to leave the business, right? Not saying they don't want to sell it. They still want to sell it, but they want to stay on board for a while, which is great for us because it means that they will take an earn out or they'll take a seller carry note. So we don't even have to come up with all the cash right away to buy the business. Another great thing, okay? When you're buying these types of companies, your multiples, I'm assuming people understand slightly, maybe some of you guys better than others, what a multiple is. A multiple is, if I say a company is worth 4x, then in other words, what I'm saying is it's worth 4 times its EBITDA. So a company that has $1.5 million in EBITDA, it's worth roughly $6 million, okay? So the average price range of these companies that we're looking at right now is around $8 to $10 million, and then we negotiate down from there and do whatever we can to get a sweeter deal. We do have companies that are worth a lot more than that, and we are going after some of these. So we are wanting to go upstream eventually and get to some of these larger companies. So when you look at the projections, which is the one, I have a whole bunch of sticky notes on mine, but it's the really ugly eyesore chart that's behind this guy. This one talks about how we're growing the portfolio of value. How are we growing this enterprise value company to be worth about $1 billion over the next 10 years? What does that actually look like? We have an aggressive growth plan. Yeah, we're not going to be shy about that. When it comes to the A player mentality and the types of people we have in the room, the types of people we have working with us and as part of our ecosystem, we want to go fast, but we also want to go far. That's why we need investors. That's why we need great people and partners on our team, because we all know the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We want capital to go farther, faster. This year, we're closing on 2 companies. Next year, we're closing on 2 companies. The year after that, we're going to close on 2 companies. We're going to keep scaling this up. So the way our convertible note offering works, it's a $5 million offering with a $50 million cap, all right? That means in the event that after the end of 3 years, you want to convert, or we decide to convert that note, then the investors will own roughly 10% of Patriot Growth Capital, okay? $5 million with a $50 million valuation cap. How do we get to that number? Well, if we buy these companies, if you look at those charts, again, the really ugly table that's a one sheet, you'll see at the end of year 3, we project the company to be worth roughly $100 million, okay? And that's through our portfolio of our holding companies. We want to buy these companies and we want to put veterans in there because it's going to help us achieve that mission of helping 1 million veteran families over the next 10 years. Is this making sense, guys? Questions?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll hold those for just a minute. Definitely lots of questions. All right, I'm excited. Questions mean that you guys are liking what we're having to say, so that's wonderful. I know that it's getting late in the evening, but and I was going to say, man, traffic looks terrible, but unfortunately, it's cleaning up. So if anybody is getting to the point where they say, I got to go, that's fine. I do want you to let us close this thing out. There's one more really, really important piece of paper that I need everybody to fill out. We do have pens. We should be passing those out if we haven't already. There's a piece of paper in here called an indication of interest form. I am requiring everybody to fill this out, even if you do not plan on investing with us. It's totally fine. The reason we want you guys to fill this out is, one, so we can say thank you for being here. We do appreciate everyone's time. We know how valuable that is. Secondly, everybody here knows somebody who could benefit from what we're doing. Whether that is a company coming into our accelerator when we have that stood up, whether that is a strategic partner who can be somebody helping us out in this mission, whether it's an executive at a company who would love to come and speak at that or participate in some capacity, or right now, capital is the number one need, right? We really do want to get this accelerator stood up very, very quickly. We have commitments from a few organizations that are saying they would love to have us in their towns. You heard Zach and I talking about the mayor earlier. We have a few others that are very interested in having us be a part of there, okay? So we want to move quickly because there are other people out there that are trying to do something similar, not the same mission. And the reason that we want to move fast, one, money loves speed, right? We all know this. If you can't make a decision, you're never going to get anywhere in life. We got to be able to make decisions. Second thing is, our goal is our driving force. Our mission is what matters. Helping these veteran families. We heard about the 22 a day. I had a friend who took his own life 2 days before I got married in 2021. Retired lieutenant, had been a nuclear power plant officer, went into became a pilot, 2 young girls. He lost his mission. He lost his purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to give our veterans a mission after the military, and we need your help to do that. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for being here today. We do have one more person I need to have close this out, and then I will promise I will stick around for questions. Zach Miller, our CEO, come on back up.
All right, buddy. Thank you. I'll keep this short and sweet, guys. Everybody in this room is part of a curated list. We didn't invite all our friends. We didn't invite everybody we know that's successful and has done well. There's a reason everybody's in this room.
Indication of interest.
We want to make a difference in the veteran's life and the veteran's family lives. We have some huge opportunities in front of us. We're actively closing on companies right now. We've identified Ben as one of our first veterans that we want to put in the companies. But ultimately, guys, like he said, if we want to go fast, go with the team. We know everybody outside of monetarily investing in us can open up doors through relationships, partnerships. We need advisors. We don't know everything. We always like to say we don't have all the answers. Right? We just want to win. And I just want to thank you again for being here, guys. But please pull us aside. We're going to follow up with everybody. We'd love to get some meetings on the calendar, talk further about this. Thank you for joining us. Very grateful.
Yeah.